Good morning, guys. In the last session, we discussed about what is microservices architecture and what components will be available in microservices. So we have seen service registry, API gateway, admin server, Jipkin server, FIAN client, Kafka, Redis, and a config server. And we have created those projects also. Service registry is used to maintain list of services available in our application. One application can contain multiple services. So once you go to the service registry dashboard, so we can understand what are the services that are available. Okay, so let's So here our service registry application is available, which is Eureka server. I have given port number as 8761 for that. Let me run this application. We can see Eureka dashboard. In the Eureka dashboard, we can identify what are the services available. Currently, we don't have any services registered with the Eureka. Empty dashboard will be displayed. Similarly, we have created admin server project. Admin server will maintain user interface. It will provide user interface to monitor and manage all our APIs at one place. Admin server also started. Go to browser. Let's access them. Localhost colon 8761. So we are getting Eureka dashboard. Is there any application which is registered with the Eureka? Currently, there is no application which is registered with the Eureka. That means there is no client available for the Eureka at this moment. Similarly, go for localhost colon 9090. For admin server, we have given port number as 9090. Currently, no applications are registered with the admin server. Similarly, we are having Jipkin server also. So Jipkin server is used for distributed tracing. Okay, let me run this java-jar space Jipkin jar file. So it is used for distributed tracing. That Jipkin server will be running on the port number 9411. That is default port number for Jipkin server. When I use this Jipkin dashboard to get the tracing, currently any traces available, traces are not available, traces are not available. So with this, if you observe, our service registry is ready, admin server is ready, and Jipkin server is ready. Now we need to develop our APIs. API is nothing but our backend services we need to develop. Whatever the backend service we are developing, that service will act as a client for Eureka. That service will act as a client for admin server, will act as a client for Jipkin server also. Okay, so let me create one client application. That means one REST API application. Okay, so let us see here. I'm going to create one new project, file, new Spring Starter project. I'm giving the name as 44 application, something like this, welcome API. Welcome API. This is our microservice. Maven is a build tool. Packaging type is a jar. Group ID in.ashok IT and package also in.ashok IT, like this. Click on next. Now, the most important part, when we are developing the backend APIs, what are the dependencies we have to select? Okay, so first one, we want to develop a REST API. For that, we need to select a Spring Web Dependency. And this application should register with Eureka server. So this application should act as a client for the Eureka. So let us type Eureka Discovery Client Annotation. This application should act as a client for the admin server. Okay, why it should act as a client for admin server? To manage and monitor actuators of this application. So first let us select actuators of this application. Let's enable actuator. After enabling the actuator, let's select a client. Okay, this application will contain actuator. Those actuators we will access by using admin server. This application should act as a client for admin server. So let's select a admin client dependency. And this application should act as a client for Jipkin server. So let us select a Jipkin dependency. Okay. And what else we need to select, guys? So what are the dependencies that we have selected as of now? We have selected Eureka client, web starter, actuator, Jipkin, admin client. If you want, you can select dev tools also. What is the purpose of dev tools? It is used to restart the service when there is a code change. See, look at this. I'm creating one REST API, which is called one microservice. That microservice will act as a client for admin server, will act as a client for Jipkin server, will act as a client for Eureka server. So that's why in this project, I have added all those dependencies. Click on next and click on finish. So with this, my REST API got created. My REST API is created. Let's see here. Go to the dependencies of this REST API. Let us go to the dependencies of this REST API. Cloud dependencies are available, actuator dependency and web starter dependency, admin client dependency, Jipkin related dependencies available, and Eureka client dependency available, and DevTools dependency is available. Now, in order to represent this application as a Eureka client application, we are going to write one annotation called enable discovery client annotation. What is the annotation we are using, guys? Enable discovery client annotation we are using. What is the meaning of enable discovery client? We are telling to identify where is the Eureka server available and go and register with that Eureka server. With this annotation, this microservice will act as a Eureka client. Along with this one, let us make some changes to the properties file. So convert from the properties file to YML file. In this YML file, I'm configuring port number server.port Okay, so this port number I am giving as something like 1111. Then for this, I need to configure one name. For every service, we will give one unique name. Let me give unique name for this service. Spring.application.name. So I want to give some name for this application. You can give any name for that. So I'm giving the name as welcome API. I'm giving the name as a welcome API. So we created one microservice. Then nothing but we are creating one backend application. For this backend application, I'm setting some port number. For this backend application, I'm setting some port number and I'm setting some name also. And I want to enable actuator endpoints for this application. I want to enable actuator endpoints. How do we enable that? Management.web.endpoints.exposure.include. I want to expose all the actuator endpoints. Include star. What is the meaning of star? All the actuator endpoints will be exposed. Okay, so I created a REST API. For that, I am giving the port number, I'm giving the name, I'm enabling actuator endpoints. Now, this application should act as a client for the Eureka. Eureka running on which port number, guys? 8761. Do I need to register my API manually or my API can be registered automatically? My API can be registered automatically. If Eureka port number is different, then you should write this property. Suppose if Eureka is running on the port number 9090, if you write this property, then client will be registered with the Eureka manually. If Eureka running on 8761, no need to write this property. Clear? The next one, what is this property? I want to register with the admin server. Where is our admin server running? For admin server, I have given port number as 9090. Boot admin client URL. Okay, Spring is already available. So let me configure here spring.boot.admin.client.url. Okay. So what is the URL of our admin server? Where our admin server is running http colon localhost colon 9090. That's it. So this is admin server URL. This welcome API is going to act as a client for Eureka, will act as a client for admin, will act as a client for Zipkin. So Zipkin will be running by default on the port number 9411. Sir, is it going to register with the Zipkin or not? Let's verify. And meanwhile, let me create one REST controller also in this application. I'm creating welcome REST controller. Welcome REST controller. Let's make this as a REST controller. Then let us write one simple method in this REST controller, public string get welcome message. Okay, string message, some value, return message. Let us map this to a get request @get mapping @get mapping / welcome is the URL pattern. Okay, good. Now, so total we are going to deal with 4 projects now. Total we are going to deal with 4 projects now. One is Eureka server, one is admin server, another one is Zipkin server, and I have created one welcome API. I have created one welcome API. Are you guys clear with this? Shall we start all these 4 applications and can we see now? So first let me start my service registry. Okay. So guys, here multiple times we need to start and stop our applications, because if it is one project, it is easy, but we are dealing with 4 or 5 projects at a time in the same system. We need to be careful. I'm running my service registry, run as boot application. Run as boot application. My service registry is started. Go to browser, refresh this one. Yes, Eureka server is up and running. Currently in the Eureka, any application is registered, any client available for Eureka as of now? There is no client available for Eureka. Just we started Eureka server, which is running on the port number 8761. Then let's go and start our admin server, run as boot application. Admin server will be running on the port number 9090. You can configure any port number for that. Any application which is registered with admin server? Currently, is there any application registered with admin server? No application registered with the admin server. Zipkin server is already running. I have not stopped it. Zipkin. Any response coming from the Zipkin? Any traces available in the Zipkin? Currently, no traces available in the Zipkin. 3 servers are ready. Eureka running on 8761, admin server running on 9090, Zipkin is running on 9411. Okay. Now go to IDE. Let us run our welcome API. What is welcome API? It is a microservice. It is independently deployable, independently executable. This microservice should act as a client for Eureka, client for admin, client for Zipkin also. And there is a REST controller also available. Now, before going to run this application, observe Eureka dashboard. What is the message we are getting? What is the message we are getting? No instances are available. Okay, good. Right click on this project, run as boot application. I'm running my welcome API. I'm running my welcome API. Go to Eureka dashboard and refresh. Is there any change in the Eureka? What is the change? What is the change? Welcome API registered with the Eureka. So if you refresh your Eureka dashboard, you can understand what services available, how many instances available. How many instances available for the welcome API now? There is only one instance available for the welcome API. What is the status? Up and running. That means it is available to access. What is the URL? This is the URL of the welcome API. In the project, if you have 10 services like this, if you have 10 services like this, it will display names of all those services, how many instances available for one service, what is the status of that service, what is the URL of that service. All this information we can access by using Eureka. Eureka is also called as service registry, or it is also called as discovery server. Tomorrow, if you want to know how many services available for your application, where you need to check that? Where we need to check that? In the Eureka dashboard, we are going to check how many services available, what is the name, what is the status, and what is the URL. Are you guys able to follow this? Good. Then go for admin server. Go for admin server. What it is saying? All up. How many applications registered with the admin server now? Only one client is available. Welcome API. Click on this welcome API. It is opening this application. Click on this application. Click on this application here. Welcome API is providing info, health, metrics, environment, beans, config properties, tasks, loggers, mappings, cache. What all these things, guys? These are actuators of our REST API. So earlier, how we accessed actuators? We need to go to browser and we need to type like this: localhost colon 1111/health. So we are going to get the actuator endpoint of our REST API. So what is the health is coming now? Up. So if you have 20 applications like this, go into browser, access the actuator of 20 applications like this. That is difficult. You can't remember the URLs also for the 20 applications. So that's why what this admin server is doing, this admin server will provide you all the API actuators at one place. Okay. Service registry will tell you what services available, what is the name, what is the status, how many instances, what is the URL. But what is this admin server is doing? This admin server is providing what is the API. Okay. What is the status of that API? All are up and running. Okay. And the actuator endpoints for the API, all the information related to your API. That means how much memory used in the heap, how much memory used in the stack, what is the CPU utilization, how many threads are running, how many live threads available, how many daemon threads available. Okay. And if you go for JVM information, thread dump, heap dump is available. What are the URL patterns available for our application? What are the loggers available? Can we change the log level? Yes, we can change the log level also. We can change the log level also for our application without restarting the server. This is called application management. To monitor and manage our application, we are going to use admin server. So in the interview, they will ask you a question. My application having log level as the info. Can I change the level to debug without restarting the server? Yes or no? Yes. How? By using admin. This is interview question. Generally, log level we will configure in the properties file or XML file. If you change the log level, you need to restart the application. So they will ask you, my application is running in the production. The log level is info. I want to change to debug without restarting the application. How do you do that? By using admin server, we can change the log level without restarting the server. That is called managing the application. What is the meaning of monitoring the application? What is the meaning of monitoring the application? This how metrics. We are going to get the metrics of our application. Okay. We are going to get the environment information of our application. We are going to get how many beans loaded by our application. What are the configuration properties loaded by our application? What are the loggers available in our application? What are the threads available in our application? Go for the thread dump, go to heap dump, go to mappings, go to cache information. All this data we can monitor by using our application. All this data can be monitored by using our application. The status is up and running. The status is up and running. Now tell me, what is the difference between Eureka server and admin server? What is the difference between Eureka server and admin server? Eureka is a service registry. Eureka is a service registry. What that server is providing? Name of the service, instance of the server. How many instances? That means how many servers your application is running? What is the status of your application? What is the URL of your application? That information we are getting from our Eureka server. Then what is admin server is doing? What is admin server is doing? Admin server will tell you the information about your application. How many threads are running? How many objects are created? What are the URL patterns available? How many classes loaded? Actuator endpoints of your application. Monitoring and managing your applications at one place. We can do by using admin server. Okay, my REST API is running. Let me access that. Localhost : 1111/welcome. Am I able to access my REST API REST controller? Yes. In my REST API, there is a REST controller is available. I'm able to access my REST API also. Okay. Admin server is available. Jipkin server is available. Eureka is available. One REST API is also available. For my REST API, how many instances available, guys? That means it is running in only one server. My REST API is running in one server. Now go to Jipkin, click on run query. Now earlier when I execute run query, we did not get any output. But now when I execute run query, what it is saying, guys? We are getting some output. We are getting some output. So that means we access the actuator endpoints of our application. We accessed actuator endpoints of our application. Now we can get the service name. Welcome API is available. Run the query. So how many times you send the request for the welcome API, we are able to get that information. How much time it is taking, how many services are executed in the background, how many services executed in the background, what is the time it is taking to process the request. All that information we are getting by using this Jipkin dashboard. This Jipkin dashboard is used for distributed tracing. What is the meaning of distributed tracing? Distributed tracing means how many times the request is sent to your REST API. What is the time taken by your REST API? All that information we are going to get by using Jipkin dashboard. Service registry, admin server, Jipkin server is available. Service registry will tell you information about all the services. Admin server will provide the functionality to monitor and manage your service. Jipkin server will tell you how many requests came, how much time it has taken to process the request. And we have one microservice. That microservice acting as a client for Eureka, acting as a client for admin, acting as a client for Jipkin. How it is acting as a client for all the three? So if you go to our microservice YML file, so we created one project. In that project, start class available. For start class, I am writing this annotation. Enable discovery client annotation. What is the meaning of enable discovery client annotation? What is the meaning of enable discovery client annotation? It should act as a client for Eureka. Am I telling where is Eureka server available, or I am not telling where is Eureka server available? In the YML, am I telling where is Eureka, or I am not telling where is Eureka? I am not telling where is Eureka. Why I am not telling where is Eureka? Default port number. So discovery client annotation, if I use, it will check for Eureka with the 8761. Eureka is there with 8761, auto registered. Client is automatically registering with the Eureka. Suppose if Eureka port number is different, manually we have to register. How to register with Eureka manually? This is the property. In the YML file, if you write this property, then your application will be registered with the Eureka server. How? Our application registering with the admin server, this is the property. So with this property, this application is acting as a client for admin server. It will identify admin server running on the port number 9090. How our application will know where is the Zipkin server? Am I registering the Zipkin server URL here? I'm not writing. The reason is whenever we add Zipkin dependency, by default it will identify the Zipkin server with the 9411 port number. So here with Eureka, auto registration is happening. With Zipkin also, auto registration is happening. With the admin server, manually we are registering. So my welcome API acting as a client for Eureka server, acting as a client for admin server, acting as a client for Zipkin server. And for my API, currently one instance is available. That means it is running in one server. My API is running in one server. So can we run our API in multiple servers also? Yes, we can run our API in multiple servers also. Those are called as instances. Why we need to run our API in multiple instances? For load balancing. That load balancing we will do later point of time. Are you guys clear? Client development. Observe the steps I have given. Steps to develop welcome API. Create a boot application with these dependencies. Discovery client, web starter, dev tools, actuator, Zipkin, admin client. Configure enable discovery client annotation at a boot start class so that it will act as a client for Eureka. Create REST controller with the required method. I created only one single method called welcome method. Configure properties in the YML file. So server port number I configured as a 1111. You can use anything. Then application name I have configured. Admin server URL I configured. So Eureka server URL optional. No need to configure because port number is same. Then actuator endpoints we have enabled. So we want to access actuator endpoints of our application. Manually you can access. Through admin server also you can access actuator endpoints. Okay. Then run our application. It should be displayed in the Eureka dashboard. It is displaying. Check admin dashboard. It should display in the admin dashboard. It is displaying. Send the request to REST API method. Then go to Zipkin dashboard. Yes, we are able to see our application in the Zipkin dashboard also. With this, one microservice development is done. That microservice is a welcome API, which is having a REST controller. We are able to access that REST controller also. Are you guys clear with my point? Good. Now, so come to our diagram. This is our diagram. So here, if you observe, what we have done is, it is ready. This is also ready. This is also ready. This API also ready. Welcome API I have created. So this welcome API port number I have given as 1111 now. Okay, currently one instance is available. For that instance, I have given port number as 1111. For that instance, port number I have given 1111. Tomorrow, if I run one more instance, what will happen? Different port number, because in the same system, one server can use one port. If I run this API in one more server, that should have a different port number. Okay, leave that now. Next one, I want to create another API. This API also will act as a client for Eureka. This API will act as a client for admin. This API will act as a client for Zipkin. Everything is same. How we developed welcome API? In the same way, we are going to develop one more API. But extra is This API should contain fee and client. The remaining things, everything is same. The only difference is earlier API is only one REST API. Now, this API one which I am going to develop, this also will act as a client for Eureka, will act as a client for admin, will act as a client for Jipkin, and it should contain fee and client. Why it should contain the fee and client? Why it should contain the fee and client? It is responsible to communicate with the previous API. So welcome API is ready. Whatever the new API I'm going to develop now, this new API should communicate with the welcome API. Inter-service communication. How we will do that inter-service communication? By using fee and client. We will perform inter-service communication by using fee and client concept. Are you clear? Shall we start the development now? Okay. So let me stop the previous applications which are running. Guys, observe. Fee and client will be little confusing topic. Observe carefully. I'm stopping all my microservices. Okay. Let us create new project, guys. Let me create new project. File, new, starter project. I'm going to create 45 application, which is Greet API. I'm developing a project called 45 application, Greet API. Okay. Dependencies. All the dependencies, whatever we used earlier. First of all, my application should be one microservice, nothing but one REST API. How to make it as a REST API? By using web starter. I selected web starter. If any code changed, I want to restart the server. Then I will go for DevTools. Web starter is available and DevTools also available. Then it should act as a client for Eureka. It should act as client for Eureka. So for that, what dependency we need? Eureka discovery client dependency we need. And it should act as a client for admin server. Okay. Then what dependency? Admin client dependency we are going to use. And it should act as a client for Jipkin also. So let me select a Jipkin dependency. Okay. These are sufficient. When we develop last project, what is additional thing we need? What is additional thing we need? Fee and client. So in this API, fee and client will be available. What is the role of the fee and client here? What is the role of the fee and client? This fee and client is used for inter-service communication. So let me select a dependency called OpenFian. Yep. So the dependency name is OpenFian. So what it is saying? Spring Cloud routing. Spring Cloud routing will be available. That means it will talk to other services by using routing technique. Inter-service communication is available. Let us select this OpenFian dependency. This dependency not available earlier. Now, can you read this one? OpenFian. What is this OpenFian? What is the role of this PN? REST client. What is the meaning of REST client? Communicate with another application. Earlier, how we developed REST clients? Earlier, we developed REST client by using REST template and web client. Now, how we are developing the REST client? By using FIAN client. So the dependency is OpenFian dependency. The dependency is OpenFian dependency. It is declarative REST client. OpenFian creates dynamic implementation of a interface decorated with a JAX RSR Spring MVC annotation. From now onwards, you no need to write the logic to access another service. When you are developing a consumer, you no need to write the logic. You create one interface. PN client will provide the implementation to communicate with the another service. Earlier, what we have done? REST template object we created, get for entity, post for entity. Web client interface implementation object we created, client.uri, client.get, client.retrieve, mono to body, body to mono, block method, subscribe method. Lot of logic we have written to communicate from one application to another application. But now microservices. two services available in one application. The two services wants to communicate. For that, we need to go for PN client concept. Okay, select this, click on next, click on finish. So with this, our new project is created. New project is created, which is our Greet API. New project is created, which is Greet API. So go to this pom.xml. In this project pom.xml, what is this? Admin version is available, cloud version is available, Java version is available, Spring Boot version is also available. Then scroll down. What is this dependency? What is this dependency? Actuator. What is the purpose of actuator? Monitor and manage. What is this dependency? Web, which is used to develop REST API. What is this dependency? Client, admin client. My application should act as a client for admin server. Then what is this one? Micrometer. Micrometer is related to Zipkin. Micrometer is related to Zipkin. Then what about this one? Eureka client. What is the meaning of Eureka client? This should register with the Eureka server. Then what is this? OpenFN. PN client. For inter-service communication, we are using PN client. DevTools, this is a normal dependency only. So what is the difference between Welcome API and Greet API, guys? What is the difference between Welcome API and Greet API? Welcome API is a REST API. It is a microservice. Greet API also one REST API microservice. In the Greet API, PN client is available. In the Greet API, PN client is available. What is the meaning of that PN client? Inter-service communication. One service wants to communicate with the another service. That is a PN client concept is available here. Are you good with this? Now, let's do some changes. First thing, it should act as a client for Eureka. How to make sure that? Enable discovery client. It is going to act as a client for Eureka. Enable discovery client. Then go to properties, change the properties to YML. In this, port number, let's configure port number. Server dot port 1111 given to Welcome API. For this, I am giving 2222. Give some name for this API to display in the Eureka. So how to give the name for the API? Spring dot application dot name. Spring dot application dot name. For this, I am giving the name as Greet API. This application should have all the actuators. How to enable all the actuators? Management dot web dot expo endpoints dot exposure dot include. So I want to enable all the actuator endpoints. Okay, so I have given a port number, I have given the name, I have given the endpoints. I want to register with admin server. How to register with admin server? Spring dot boot dot admin dot client dot URL. What is our admin server URL? 9090 http:// localhost 9090. Now, do I need to register with Eureka manually? Do I need to register with the Eureka manually? Not required. Do I need to register with the Zipkin manually? Not required. With the Eureka, client will be auto-registered. With the Zipkin also, client will be auto-registered. With admin server, manually we are registering. Good. Let's create one REST controller here also. Greet API REST controller. New class REST controller. Greet REST controller. Greet REST controller is available at the rate REST controller. At the rate REST controller, let's write a method public string get greet message. String message is equal to good morning. something like this. I'm giving this message, return message. This also mapping to get request at the rate get mapping slash greet. At the rate get mapping slash any difference is there, guys? Nothing. Only we added PN client dependency. I have not created PN client as of now. We will do that later point of time. Okay. Greet API project I have created. Let me write the steps for this. What are the steps we are following to develop Greet API? Steps to develop Greet API. What is the additional dependency we have added? Open PN. Configure annotation, REST controller with required method, YML. What is the port number? 2222. What is the API name? We have given Greet API. This is optional. If you don't write also, no problem. Then run the application, check in Eureka dashboard, admin dashboard, send the request so that we should be able to see the information related to Greet API also. Two REST APIs are available, nothing but two microservices. One is Welcome API and another one is Greet API. Are you guys able to follow this? Now, let's run. I'm repeating once again. I created one more project today, Greet API. These dependencies I have added in that project. Welcome API, Greet API, almost same. Only extra thing in the Greet API is PN client. That PN client I will use. Greet API will access Welcome API by using this PN client only. How to develop the PN client? We will see that. We will see that. Before that, I am configuring this annotation at the start class. What is the purpose of this annotation at the start class? What is the purpose of this annotation at the start class? To represent our application as a Eureka client. Okay. Then I created one REST controller. Then I am configuring some properties in the YML file. Greet API project having this YML. See the properties. First one is port number. Here 8761 taken by Eureka. 9090 taken by admin server. 9411 taken by Zipkin server. 1111 taken by Welcome API. 2222 taken by Greet API. So total 5 projects available in our system now. So total 5 projects will run in our system. Okay. So once these properties are configured, port number, name, what is this property? What is the use of this property? What is the use of this property? It is going to register our Greet API with admin server as a client. Our Greet API will act as a client for admin server. Then next one, what is this property? What is the purpose of this property? To register our application as a Eureka client. But when this is required, if our Eureka running on the port number something like 8081, you need to configure like this. If it is running on 8761, no need to configure this one. Okay. In the Welcome API, did I configure that? No. But still it is registering with the Eureka because of that port number. Then run this application, check in the Eureka dashboard, check the admin dashboard, access the actuators in the admin dashboard, access our application REST API, then check a Zipkin server also, Zipkin dashboard also. Are you guys able to understand what we have developed? Now, here, Welcome API and Greet API. What is the port number for this we are using? 2222. Guys, in the microservices, confusion is with the configuration. How many servers are running? What are the port numbers we are using? How they are registering? That configuration will be the confusion part. REST API development, we know already. REST controller methods will be available.
I have taken very simple REST API, welcome REST controller, greet REST controller. That's it. Because our main target is not on the REST API now. What is our main target? Understanding the microservices architecture. Got it? Look at this diagram. Now, how many projects we are going to run? 5. One is Eureka project, admin server project, Jipkin server, welcome API, greet API. Welcome API is running on port number 1111. Greet API will run on the port number 2222. Where is our fee and client dependency? Where is the fee and client dependency? In the greet, but actually, did I develop a fee and client as of now? No, still it is not developed. We need to develop the fee and client, which is going to communicate with the welcome API for inter-service communication. That we will do later. First, let us see these two APIs are registering with all the servers or not. These two APIs are registering with all the servers or not. Online students able to understand what we are trying to do. Anybody feeling it is difficult? Any confusion? First time when you listen, maybe some confusion will be there, but you need to do the practice. For practice, step-by-step document I am giving. By following this document, you should be able to develop this microservices project. By using this document, you should be able to develop this microservices project. If you do it on your own, then only you will get the confidence. If you listen to the class and if you forget, if you leave it, after 1 week, you will forget all these concepts. Practice is very important here. Okay, good guys. Shall we run our applications now? Shall we run our applications? Okay, clean all the projects. First one, service registry. Run as boot application. Clear that console. Go to Eureka, refresh. Can you see here? In the Eureka dashboard, does Eureka having any client as of now? No, no client is available as of now. Go to admin server, run as boot application. Go to admin server. Here Jipkin is available, localhost colon 9090. What it is saying now? For admin also, no client is available. Jipkin is already running here. I have not stopped my Jipkin server. Click on run query. Currently, any traces are coming with the Jipkin? No traces are coming with the Jipkin because our applications are already stopped. Now, go to first welcome API. Okay. Welcome API port number is 1111. Run this welcome API. This welcome API, client for Eureka, client for admin, client for Jipkin. Go to Eureka dashboard. See this Eureka. Welcome API registered with Eureka or not? Yes, welcome API registered with the Eureka. How many instances available? What is the status? What is the URL of your API? You can access from this Eureka dashboard. You read this message. instances currently registered with the Eureka. So currently one instance is registered with the Eureka. Go to admin dashboard and check it. How many applications registered with admin dashboard now? How many microservices registered with the admin now? Only one, that is welcome API. Now let's start greet API, run as boot application. Run as boot application. Greet API. Greet API also a microservice. It is also client for Eureka, admin and Zipkin. Go to browser, then go to Eureka, refresh Eureka. Can you see in the Eureka how many services available? Two services available in the Eureka. One is welcome, another one is greet. So service names, service instances, service status, service URL. Everything we are getting from Eureka. Now go to admin server. Go to admin server. How many clients available for admin server now? There are two clients available for admin server. One is greet, another one is welcome. What is the benefit with this? What is the advantage here? Both APIs we can monitor from one place. Both APIs can be monitored at one place. Click on this one, Greet API. Go to this Greet API. So it is going to provide all the informations of the Greet API. Now, if you go to Welcome API, you can get all the information about the Welcome API. If you go for Greet API, you can get all the information of the Greet API and Welcome API. Okay. So now, if you don't have this admin dashboard, then what is the problem? Manually you need to hit all the URLs. If you have 1-2 APIs, no problem. If you have 10-15 APIs, accessing those URLs from different browsers, it is difficult. Here a beautiful user interface is available in order to access all the APIs. Can we change log level of these APIs now? Yes, from one place we can monitor and manage all our APIs. Are you clear? Good. Now go to Zipkin. Click on run query. So here Zipkin is providing the information. Greet API started, welcome API started, what are the actuators available, all the information we are getting from the Zipkin server. It is used for distributed tracing. Okay, now let us access our actual APIs. Localhost colon 1111/welcome. Welcome API is working. Microservice, backend microservice is working. Then 2222/greeter. This is also working. So two microservices are up and running. Two microservices are up and running. Now my requirement is, when you send the request to Greet API, Greet API should communicate with the Welcome API. Okay, I want to establish that inter-service communication. When you send the request to Greet API should communicate with the Welcome API, and Greet API should give me combined response. Currently, when I send the request for Welcome API, what is the response I'm getting? Welcome to Ashok IT. If I send the request to Greet API, what is the response I'm getting? Good morning. Now, my requirement is, when I send the request to Greet API, I need to get the response, good morning, welcome to Ashok IT. So Greet API should get the response from the Welcome API and it should give me final response. If we get the final response from the Greet API, we can say inter-service communication is working. Currently, Greet API is giving only good morning. But what I want, when I send request to the Greet API should use FIAN client and it should communicate with the Welcome API. Take the response given by the Welcome API, give to Greet API. Greet API will combine both Greet response plus Welcome response and send final response to the client. Then we can say inter-service communication is a success. Are you able to follow this? What is the meaning of inter-service communication? If one microservice is communicating with another microservice, then we will call it as a inter-service communication. What we are using for inter-service communication? PN client we are using. Can I use a web client also? Can I use a REST template also? But what is the problem with them? Hard-coded URL. Today, my welcome API is having one instance. Tomorrow, my welcome API will have 10 instances. Then how do we choose the URL in the web client? Not possible. That's why we are going for PN client. So can you tell me what is the PN client? What is the advantage with the PN client? What is the PN client and what is the advantage with the PN client? Load balancing will happen. Inter-service communication plus load balancing also will happen. Are you guys clear? Good. So what is the requirement now? Online students able to follow me? What is my requirement now? What is my requirement? Inter-service communication. Which service should communicate with which service? I will send the request to Greet API. Then what that Greet API should do? Greet API should communicate with the Welcome API and we should get the final response from the Greet API. Are you able to follow this? Any questions as of now? I'm going to develop PN client. Before PN client, any doubts? Online students, please type in the chat box. Difference between consumer and inter-service communication. What is the difference between consumer and inter-service communication, sir? Inter-service communication means Greet API acting as a consumer for the Welcome API. Both are same, Mr. Manish. Consumer means which is going to access another application. Here, who is acting as a provider? Who is acting as a consumer in this diagram? Provider is API2. What is the meaning of API2? In our scenario, Welcome API. Let me do one thing. For your clarity, let me call it as Welcome API. Okay. API 1 means what API now? It is Greet API. So who is a provider and who is a consumer in our scenario now? Who is a consumer and who is a provider in our scenario? Greet API is consumer. Welcome API is provider. Okay. So inter-service communication. Greet API acting as a consumer to access the provider. That is called inter-service communication. That's it. Yes, Naresh, I told you how to work with load balancing. Okay, I'm going to deploy these APIs in multiple instances. As of now, my API running in how many instances? In one instance. In the tomorrow session only, we will understand load balancing. That API will be deployed into multiple instances. Tomorrow, you will get the clarity on the instances topic with load balancing. Tomorrow Sunday we have a class, guys. Tomorrow we have a class. Tomorrow we will finish this architecture. Apart from this, these things we will work on in the next week. But before this, all the remaining topics we have to complete. By tomorrow we are going to complete them. So tomorrow mainly we will be working on instances load balancing and we will be working on API gateway. In the next week we are going to work on these topics. Can you share Zipkin jar file? Here I have given the link also, man. Can't you download from the internet? Mr. Shankar, I have given the URL to download this jar, please download it from the internet. People are very lazy. Security. After microservices, we will learn security. Okay, good. Any questions, anyone? Up to now? No questions. All good. Can we create Fian client now? First step, if you want to work with Fian clients in your application, then you need to write one annotation called enable Fian clients. What is the annotation, guys? Enable Fian clients. In this application, if you want to develop Fian clients, then you need to write one annotation which is called enable Fian clients concept. Enable Fian clients. Next one, Fian client is a interface, guys. We know JPA repository, right? So JPA repository we will create. So are we going to provide implementation for that repository? No. Who will provide implementation? Data JPA. Similarly, when you are creating Fian client is a interface. Fian client is a interface. Implementation will be provided by Spring Cloud. Fian client is a interface. Implementation will be provided by Spring Cloud. Now tell me what our Fian client should do in this scenario. What is the responsibility of the Fian client in this scenario? It should access welcome API. So do you know what service our Fian client should access? Name of that service? What is the service name? Welcome API. What method it has to access? It has to access get method with a /welcome. This information is required. My Fian client should access welcome API. In the welcome API, what method is available? A get method is available with the URL pattern /welcome. With this information, we are going to create a Fian client in our application. This information is required. Okay. Now, I want to communicate from greet API to welcome API. I want to communicate from greet API to welcome API. What is the name of that API? What is my target? My target is welcome API. I will communicate through URL or I will communicate through service name. Why not URL? URLs may increase, may decrease, may change in the future, but service name will not change in the future. So that's why my Fian client will communicate with welcome API by using its name. Who will maintain the name and URL? Service registry. So for the Fian client, I will tell, hey Fian client, you communicate with hey Fian client, you communicate with this welcome API. You send a get request to the welcome API with this URL pattern. But Fian client don't know where is welcome API. Then Fian client will communicate with the service registry, will get the URL of the welcome API, will send a request for that. So this is the name and this is the method. What we do is public interface welcome client. Here we are going to write a annotation called Fian client name is equal to welcome API. That's it. What is the meaning of that? This interface is going to act as a client for the welcome API. Who will provide implementation for this interface? Spring Cloud Fian client will provide the implementation. I am telling to Fian client to communicate with welcome API using its name or using its URL name. Why we are giving with the name? URL can be changed. Sir, can I communicate with the URL also? Yes, you can communicate with the URL also. But recommended or not recommended? Not recommended. So because URLs will change. One service can have multiple URLs also. That's why I'm giving the name. What request I need to send for this one? Get request. What is the URL pattern? /welcome. So to send a get request, we are going to write one method, public string invoke welcome API. Method name can be anything. Invoke welcome API. Do I need to send any input for this get request? Do I need to send any input for the get request? No. If you want to send some input, you can pass it as a method parameter. I no need to send any input for this API. It is a plain get request which will give welcome message. Now I will write @get mapping /welcome. That's it. This is called FIAN client. So what is the responsibility of this FIAN client? When you access this method in the greet API, we will create this interface. When we call this method, FIAN client will send a get request to welcome API with /welcome URL pattern. That welcome API will return a message in the string format. That is the response from the welcome API. This code is used for inter-service communication. Earlier we have communicated with REST template and web client with another application. Now also we are communicating from one application to another application. But which one we are using for communication? FIAN client we are using. FIAN client is given by Spring Cloud. So FIAN client is a interface or FIAN client is a class here. FIAN client is a interface. Who will provide implementation? Spring Cloud. What is there in this interface? What request it has to send? What type of request it has to send? What is the meaning of get mapping? Get request. What is the URL pattern? /welcome. To which API? To welcome API. So when you call this method, it will send a get request to welcome API with this /welcome URL pattern. What about the URL of the welcome API? FIAN client will get it from the Eureka server. So now our client is loosely coupled with the URLs of the welcome API. Tomorrow you can increase the URLs or you can decrease the URLs also. If you have multiple instances for the welcome API, load balancing will happen. Tomorrow I will show you that load balancing practically. First request will go to first server, second request will go to second server. Are you able to understand? Is this clear for everyone? How I am developing the FIAN client here. FIAN client is a interface. So we need to create this interface in the greet application. So when we call this method, it will send a get request to welcome API with a /welcome URL pattern. What request we want to send from the FIAN client, we need to represent that here. Okay, this method is expecting any body in the welcome API. If you go to welcome REST controller, is this method expecting any parameters? Is this method expecting any body? Is it expecting any parameters? Nothing. Suppose if it is expecting some parameters, can we send the parameters also? Yes, you can send path parameters also. Suppose for example, I want to send some value to the welcome API. I can send like this. So this is a path variable. If it is expecting, then you can send like this. But currently, welcome API expecting the name, not expecting the name, not expecting the name. So need to pass or no need to pass? No need to pass. Suppose if welcome API having a post method, then what I will do? Post mapping. I will write the annotation as a post mapping. Got it? Yes. Can I create this interface now? What is the first step I have done? Enable FIAN clients. Okay. Now, where we should create the FIAN client? Welcome API or greet API? In the greet API, let me create a FIAN client, guys. Observe carefully. Stop all these services. Yes. Now, go to welcome API, new class or interface? Interface. Client. For which API it is a client? Welcome API client. I'm writing the same name. Welcome API client. When somebody look at this one, they will understand, okay, it is used to access welcome API in the application. How to represent this as a client? @PN client. Name. What is the name of the service to access? I want to access welcome API. What request we need to send to the welcome API? Get request. We need to send a get request for the welcome API. Public string invoke welcome message or something, any method name can be anything. When I call this method, what type of request we want to send? Get request. What is the URL pattern? /welcome. That's it. So who will provide implementation for this interface now? Spring Cloud will provide the implementation for this interface. Okay, now go to greet REST controller. Greet REST controller, when I send a request to the greet method, it should communicate with the welcome, get the welcome response, send the final response. Okay, invoke PN client here, private welcome API client. This is welcome client. So I'm injecting interface object. What is the meaning of injecting interface object? Its implementation class object will be injected. Who will provide that implementation? Spring Cloud will provide that implementation. Now access it. Welcome client dot invoke welcome message. Okay, so now I got the welcome message and this is my greet message. What is the final response I'm going to return? Greet message dot concat welcome message. So now I will send a request to greet API. What my greet API will do? It will send the request to welcome API. It will get the welcome API response. Concatenate greet response with the welcome response and send the final response. So if we are getting the final response, our inter-service communication is successful. How we are doing that inter-service communication? By using PN client. How we created that PN client? We have used one annotation called enable PN clients annotation, and we created one interface. In that interface we are telling this PN client should communicate with which API, and this PN client should send what type of request. It should send a welcome request with /welcome to the welcome API. Now if you go to the diagram, I will send a request to greet API. Then what the greet API will do? It will talk to PN client. What PN client will do? It will talk to service registry, get the service URL, then communicate with the welcome API. Welcome API will give welcome message. Greet API will combine welcome message and greet message will send the final response. So if you send the request to welcome API, only welcome message will come. If you send the request to greet API, welcome message plus greet message will come. Inter-service communication. Can I say one microservice is going to communicate with another microservice in the same application? Yes, that is called inter-service communication. How we are doing that inter-service communication? By using PN client. Currently load balancing is there or load balancing is not there? No. Tomorrow we will do load balancing. Good. Let's run the applications again. Again, I need to run all my applications, guys. Are you able to understand what is the logic I have written? Any confusion in this logic? Just we are telling the name of the service, what type of request it has to send. Can I change this method name? You can give any name for the method. So when the request will go to welcome API, when you call this method, then it will send a get request to welcome API with this URL pattern. Whatever the response coming from welcome API, stored into this variable. Okay, good, fine. Let's start the application now. First, I'm going to run my service. Now here, if you use PN client like this, service registry is mandatory or service registry is optional? Now, service registry is mandatory or service registry is optional? Mandatory. Why mandatory? PN client knows only name of the service. PN client don't know URL of the service. Where that URL will be available? Service registry. So first service registry should be started. Then only you can start your remaining services. Run the service registry. Run as boot application. Console. Clear this. Service registry started. Check in the browser. Eureka. Okay. With Eureka currently, any instances available? No. Go to admin server, run as boot application. Admin server that will run on the 9090. Okay. Next, welcome API. Any changes we made to the welcome API? No, we did not make any change to welcome API. Run this welcome API. Run as boot application. Changes we made to greet API. What is the change we made to greet API, guys? What is the change we made to greet API? We made PN client change. We made PN client change for the greet API. Right click, run as boot app. Good. All 5 projects are started. Go to Eureka, refresh. Now, can you see? Welcome API is running and greet API is also running. Go to admin server and can you see? Greet API is up, welcome API is also up. Go to Jipkin server. It is showing the information about both welcome API and greet API. Okay. So greet API running on 2222, welcome API running on 1111. Can we access only welcome API now? What is the response we are expecting? What is the response we are expecting? Welcome to Ashok IT. This message is coming. Is welcome API communicating with any other service? Welcome API not communicating with any other service. Welcome API is independent now. Welcome API is independent. Let's go to greet API. What is the functionality in the greet API, guys? What is the functionality in the greet API? When I send the request to greet API, what will happen? Greet API will communicate with PN client. PN client will communicate with service registry. Then with the URL, it will communicate with welcome API. Get the response from the welcome API, give to greet API. Then greet API will send combined response. Now, see that? Are we getting the combined response or not? So I'm sending the request to greet API. What is the response we are getting from the greet API? Good morning, comma, welcome to Ashok IT. Who is giving this welcome to Ashok IT? Welcome API. I'm sending the request to greet API. So can I say inter-service communication is working? Yes, inter-service communication is working. You see the logic here. I am sending request to greet REST controller, which is running on the port number 2222. So I'm sending request to this method. What this method is doing? Welcome client dot invoke welcome message. How it is invoking the welcome message? Based on the welcome API URL. Okay. Who is giving the URL to PN client? Service registry. It is sending a GET request to the welcome API and we got the welcome message. So we are combining greet message plus welcome message and we are returning final message. So that is the reason when I send a request to welcome application, only welcome message is coming. When I send the request to greet application, greet message plus welcome message is coming. This message coming from another service. Who is accessing that service? Greet API accessing welcome API with the help of PN client. That is called inter-service communication. What is the benefit with this PN client here? Hard-coded URL or name of the service? Name of the service. Tomorrow, welcome API will have 3 instances. Today, welcome API is having 1 instance. Tomorrow, I will do load balancing for the welcome API. What is the meaning of load balancing? Running the same API in the different servers. Then PN client will communicate with which server? If welcome API having 3 servers, with which server our PN client will communicate? Round robin. First request will go to first server, second request will go to second server. Load balancing will happen with the PN client. Tomorrow topic, load balancing with the PN client plus API gateway. Are you clear? Good. So this PN client we need to develop, guys. Okay. Inter-service communication. Inter-service communication. What is the first step we need to do? Add, enable PN client's dependency in which API? In Greet API boot start class. Okay. Create PN client interface like below. Create PN client interface like below. Then inject PN client into Greet REST controller like below. Okay. Now this is my Greet REST controller. In this Greet REST controller, we are calling PN client. So then finally run the applications and access Greet API method. It should give combined response. This is what we need to do today. So today, what we have done, guys, in the today's session, we created welcome API and we created greet API and we established inter-service communication in the greet API. How we established inter-service communication? Enable this annotation in the start class. Create PN client interface like below. Inject that PN client in the greet REST controller like below. So when you send the request to greet API, it will get the response from the welcome API and it will send the final response. So access greet API method. Then it should give combined response of greet API plus welcome API. With this we can say our inter-service communication is working. So practically we are able to see inter-service communication is working as expected. Look at the diagram. We are able to satisfy this diagram. Inter-service communication. Sorry? Huh? Tomorrow we'll come to that ribbon. When we do the load balancing, then ribbon will come into picture. Load balancing is tomorrow topic. Okay, good. So tomorrow, what is our target? Load balancing with ribbon, then API gateway. That we will learn in the tomorrow session. Okay, don't miss the class tomorrow. Tomorrow we have class at regular time. Morning 7:30 class is available. Sir, Sunday chutti, no chutti. So no leave. So we have a class. Okay, today evening JRTP class also available. So please practice this architecture till afternoon. And from afternoon, you need to work on the JRTP project. Today I am going to check your coding for the JRTP. Whatever you have done in the second mini project, you need to show me your laptop. I will come to the institute by 3 o'clock. I want to check all your laptops, what you have done in the second mini project. Today that project will be completed. Only registration page is pending. So you need to work on that. Have your breakfast and first complete this microservices architecture. Document is available. After lunch, work on the second mini project in the JRTP. Today you need to show me how much you have completed in the second mini project. You got my point? Yes. Online people, any questions, anybody? You can unmute and you can ask me now.
Hello, sir.
Yes, man.
Like, what's the difference between Swagger and service registry, like
Sir,
Eureka server?
you can't compare Swagger and service registry, sir. Swagger is providing you documentation about what are the methods available in the API, what is input for the method and what is output for the method. Okay.
Yes.
Service registry will tell you what all the services available, what is the name of the service, what is the URL, what is the status, that information. So you can't compare Swagger and service registry. It is a blunder mistake.
Okay.
Sir, service registry, where it is giving URL,
Sorry,
where it is giving URL for the methods.
I did not get your question.
Actually, in the welcome API client, you have taken a string as a return type. Okay.
Right.
So how you will decide whether it is giving string or it is giving
We know
boolean?
that, right? If it is giving some other, we need to change that. We are the developer of the welcome API. We know that it is giving string as a response. That's
But
why I have taken string.
Okay, but someone else developed that REST API.
You need, by using Swagger, you will understand what it is going to return. By
Okay, sir.
using
And
Swagger, you should understand what it is going to return. Na?
yes, sir.
You should know
So,
the document. When you are developing a consumer, you should know provider information. Without knowing the provider, how can you develop the consumer?
oh,
You
okay,
got my
sir.
point.
Yes, sir. And you have taken one URL, right? /welcome in
Huh.
that.
That is also, you will
Uh,
know that.
okay, okay, sir.
Yeah, Ashok, that method return the string, for example, if it is written that provider as a response entity, then
You
we
can
need to
change.
change it.
You can take
You
it
change
as a
here,
response
right?
entity. Yes, here
Yes,
you instead of
yes.
string, you can take it as a response entity also. No problem.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
You can
same
take
question.
like this also.
And one more question I have. And Jipkin server we need to run, then JDK 17 is mandatory, right?
Yes, right.
So it is,
To run the
yeah,
Jipkin,
it is.
JDK 17 is
So
mandatory.
yeah, as of now in my locality is 11. That's what I'm unable to
Yeah,
run that one.
yeah.
Yeah, I will change
Uninstall
that
the
JDK.
11 and install the 17 of Java.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Guys,
Hi, sir.
notes I have uploaded in both Sbms group and JRTP group. Whatever notes I have prepared till now, up to inter-service communication, notes is uploaded for your practice. Before lunch, you have to complete this practice. Then work on the JRTP mini project.
Hello,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, main client,
Yes, sir.
if
What
instead of
exactly
string,
Jipkin
object
server
is
doing?
written,
One by
then
one, one
what
by
will
one.
be the
Illustrate a little. So I was asking what exactly Jipkin server doing, if you can illustrate a little.
Jipkin server will tell you when your application started, how many requests came, how much time it has taken to process the request. Tracing.
Okay. So in real time, what will be its significance?
Same, that is what, sir, to know which service, how many services involved in the request processing, which service is taking more time, that information you can get from the Jipkin.
Okay, so in project you will demonstrate it.
Already we have done that, na?
Yes,
This is
sir, I have
what,
seen,
nothing
but,
else from the Jipkin, nothing else from the Jipkin. It is just for monitoring purpose. That's it.
okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hi, sir.
Hello.
Sir, we are using Logger, then why we need Zipkin server?
Sir, Logger will tell you what is happening in your application. Logger will not tell you how many services involved in the request processing, which service is slow, which service is fast. You can't get it from the Logger. Logger
Okay,
purpose
sir.
is different.
Okay.
Sir, it
Yeah,
will have
hi,
all
sir.
the method URL, sir, in the service registry.
Sorry, method URLs will not come, sir. Only service name it will display.
Okay. So it will have the service name URL, that base URL only it will have. Huh?
Yes, right. What is the name? What is the URL? What is the status? How many instances available? That information will be available in the service registry. It
Then
will not
method
tell
URL.
you. It will not tell you what methods available, what URLs available. For that, you need to use the Swagger documentation.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Hi, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in APIs, we added Eureka annotation so that it is there is a connectivity. It is getting connected to Eureka. In the same way, for admin server, we added in the application.properties file with the host name.
Correct.
Right. For Zipkin server, how it is getting connected, sir? We nowhere
Default,
we
sir.
mentioned the.
When you, I already told you, when you add Jipkin dependency, by default it will search for the Jipkin server with the port number 9411. Auto registration will happen.
Okay. So for admin server, there is no default port, sir.
No, no.
We can give our
We need,
own.
yes, we need to give our own.
Sir, if port number is different for Zipkin, if we give differently,
You need to
then we
register
need to,
manually. Then you need to write a property.
so in real time, how it will be, sir? They'll use the default port numbers or?
Default port numbers they will use, so no need to change them, right?
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir. Sir, instead in the main client, instead of string, if that it will return the object in that
You can
case.
take any return type, sir. Based on the provider, you will know about the provider input, provider output, right? Based on the provider output, you can design this method. You can take return
only
type as
one
object also.
create new model.
Yeah, you can create a new model and you can take the object also. You can take as a response entity also. You can take a list also. It depends on what the provider is returning. My provider is returning a message. That's why I'm taking string as a return type.
Okay, sir.
Web client can do the PN client role also, right? It can web client.
I already told. Web client means you should give URL, not the service name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Ashok. This is Akshay.
Yes, sir.
still industry is using Java 8 or Java 11, as you said.
Some projects are using Java 8, some are 11, some are 17.
So as you said, this Zipkin will need Java 17, right?
Yes.
Strictly.
Yes.
So how can you just tell me about this combinations?
Earlier, sir, this latest version of the Zipkin requires Java 17. Older versions of the Zipkin does not require Java 17. Earlier also Zipkin is available, before Java 17 is not there, right?
Okay.
Yeah. They will download older versions of the Zipkin.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. By
Yes.
using FIAN client, how to send the headers?
By using FIAN client, there is a HTTP header annotation. As a method parameter, you can pass that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, hi, sir.
Hello.
Sir, how you fixed that issue, sir? The DevTools issue is there, right? Earlier
I have not done anything, sir. I have not done anything. Automatically, it is started working.
Actually, it's not working in my machine. That's why.
I have not done anything for that. Okay. Cool, guys. Fine. With this, I'm stopping. We'll meet tomorrow morning for microservices class. Today evening for JRTP class. Thank you.